As we know, the Bible is the inerrant word of God. It is filled with true stories, biblical facts, and even what we might consider to be some oddities, such as who had a bed that was 12.5 feet long and 6 feet wide. Now, Merriam-Webster.com defines the word oddity as, and I quote, slang for someone or something that is strange or unusual, end of quote. Hello, I'm Kathy Bartow. Let's start out with our first, when an ass spoke to a man. It's in Numbers chapter 22, verses 21 through 33. Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the Moabite officials. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, it turned off the road into the field. Balaam beat it to get it back on the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path through the vineyards with walls on both sides. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it pressed close to the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it. So he beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam, and he was angry and beat it with his staff. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Balaam answered the donkey, "You've made a fool of me. If only I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" "No," he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed low and fell face down. The angel of the Lord asked him, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared it." Who had 12 fingers and 12 toes? 2 Samuel chapter 21, verse 20. In still another battle which took place at Gath, there was a huge man with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all. He also was descended from Rapha. When he taunted Israel, Jonathan, son of Shimea, David's brother, killed him. 3. Who stole a baby to replace her own smothered baby? It's in 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 16 through 27. Now 2 prostitutes came to King Solomon and stood before him. One of them said, "Pardon me, my lord. This woman and I live in the same house, and I had a baby while she was there with me. The 3rd day after my child was born, this woman had a baby. We were alone. There was no one in the house but the 2 of us. During the night, this woman's son died because she lay on him. So she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while I, your servant, was asleep. She put him by her breast and put her dead son by my breast. The next morning, I got up to nurse my son, and he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning light, I saw that it wasn't the son I had born." The other woman said, "No, the living one is my son, the dead one is yours." But the first one insisted, "No, the dead one is yours, the living one is mine." And so they argued before the king. The king said, "This one says, 'My son is alive and your son is dead,' while that one says, 'No, your son is dead and mine is alive.'" Then the king said, "Bring me a sword." So they brought a sword for the king. He then gave an order, "Cut the living child in 2 and give half to one and half to the other." The woman whose son was alive was deeply moved out of love for her son and said to the king, "Please, my lord, give her the living baby. Don't kill him." But the other said, "Neither I nor you shall have him. Cut him in 2. Then the king gave his ruling, "Give the living baby to the first woman. Do not kill him. She is his mother." 4. Who ate a scroll and thought it tasted like honey? God speaks to Ezekiel the prophet and has him eat the scroll. Ezekiel chapter 2, verses 9 through chapter 3, verse 3. Then I looked and I saw a hand stretched out to me. In it was a scroll, which he unrolled before me. On both sides of it were written words of lament and mourning and woe. And he said to me, Son of man, eat what is before you, eat this scroll. Then go and speak to the people of Israel. So I opened my mouth and he gave me the scroll to eat. Then he said to me, Son of man, eat this scroll I have given you and fill your stomach with it. So I ate it, and it tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth. 5. What labor union went on strike because of a preacher? Acts chapter 19, verses 24 to 29. A silversmith named Demetrius, who made silver shrines of Artemis, brought in a lot of business for the craftsmen there. He called them together along with the workers in related trades and said, You know, my friends, that we receive a good income from this business. And you see and hear how this fellow Paul has convinced and led astray large numbers of people here in Ephesus and in practically the whole province of Asia. He says that gods made by human hands are no gods at all. There is danger not only that our trade will lose its good name, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis will be discredited, and the goddess herself, who is worshipped throughout the province of Asia and the world, will be robbed of her divine majesty. When they heard this, they were furious and began shouting, Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. Soon the whole city was in an uproar, and the people seized Paul's traveling companions from Macedonia, and all of them rushed into the theater together. Here's a quote regarding this from Resurrection Church, and I quote, Paul preached Jesus, and in doing so preached against the idols of Ephesus, namely Diana. So in the Old Testament, we see idols invading the land of Israel, which were the people of God. In the New Testament, we see Paul invading all lands with the gospel of Jesus Christ. He is on the offensive, tearing down idols, and Paul does not do this physically. He does it spiritually. Paul is getting at the root and showing people that idols only give temporary and false hope, and that Jesus gives you a new life, true hope, and the promise of the resurrection. Paul presents the gospel so convincingly that he had an actual effect on the culture of the city. The monetary well-being of the idol makers were being affected, so much so that the magicians, the coppersmiths, the silversmiths, and goldsmiths all rose up to push Paul out. Think about that. Gospel preaching monetarily hurts the industries of idols. End of quote. And the last oddity. What men were not allowed to wear woolen clothes? This is in Ezekiel chapter 44, verses 15 to 17. But the Levitical priests, who are descendants of Zadok, and who guarded my sanctuary while the Israelites went astray from me, are to come near to minister before me. They are to stand before me to offer sacrifices of fat and blood, declares the sovereign Lord. They alone are to enter my sanctuary. They alone are to come near my table to minister before me and serve me as guards. When they enter the gates of the inner court, they are to wear linen clothes. They must not wear any woolen garment while ministering at the gates of the inner court or inside the temple. Praise be to God for his word. Till next time, peace be with you.